1,000 evacuated, entire communities forced to leave, many driving out through tunnels of fire, homes burned to the ground, and we're on the scene live tonight. The dramatic day on Capitol Hill, facing pressure from the State Department not to testify. The former ambassador to Ukraine shows up, and what she says about President Trump, that he wanted her out. It comes 24 hours after two associates of Rudy Giuliani, who helped investigate Joe Biden in Ukraine, were arrested with one-way tickets out of the U.S. Tonight, is Rudy Giuliani part of this investigation too? What we've learned. Just in tonight, President Trump says he's reached a deal with China, the first phase, what the Chinese are saying tonight. The horrific attack at a shopping mall, the man with a knife on a rampage near a Starbucks in the UK. Late today, the explosion near U.S. Special Forces in Syria. Tonight, Turkey now saying the strike was in response to terrorists firing mortars near those U.S. Special Forces, saying Turkey was not targeting U.S. troops. We have the latest. Here at home, the school district taking action tonight after one of its middle school teachers is recorded going on a racist rant after a fender bender in the school parking lot. The abduction from a playground tonight, the FBI hunt underway for the man right now. After a remarkable moment, the 3-year-old girl found alone in a church. And longtime Fox News fixture Shep Smith reveals he's leaving the network. What he said today on his last day.
This is ABC World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening. It's great to have you with us here on a very busy Friday night. And we begin tonight with the emergency evacuations underway right now. 100,000 people on the move. The wildfires exploding, at least 8 burning now across California, 2 near Los Angeles. They have turned deadly tonight. The Saddle Ridge fire in the San Bernardino Valley bursting across more than 7,500 acres. Fire officials calling it a major emergency. Flames destroying about 800 acres per hour. Dozens of homes have already been burned to the ground, many fleeing through those tunnels of fire. The escape routes filled with blinding smoke and flames, and strong winds gusting up to 60 miles per hour, of course, fueling the fires. ABC's chief national correspondent Matt Gutman is on the scene. He leads us off tonight.
Tonight, Los Angeles communities caught in a whirlwind of fire. The Saddle Ridge fire exploding overnight. More than 1,000 firefighters from multiple departments in an all-out battle against apocalyptic flames, fueled by those howling Santa Ana winds.
The wind is so powerful up here, it is just generating this massive firestorm. Take a look at the inferno down there. We've watched hundreds of acres burn.
About 100,000 people ordered to evacuate, many driving through tunnels of fire. But
I can't even see. Yeah, let's get the hell out of here.
Fire crews scrambling to save homes and spread thin.
They're standing guard right at this basketball court, the last line of defense before this house.
Firefighters using saws to hack into gated properties.
Is that your house?
Hail Mary, full of grace.
This woman, suitcase packed, on her knees, praying firefighters can save her home. Those staying behind using anything, even garden hoses, to fight the fire. Authorities saying one man died as a result of this fire, suffering cardiac arrest. By sunrise, the fire scorching more than 7 square miles. Helicopters and air tankers in a full-out assault.
That's 11,600 gallons of retardant, and when the fire line hits that, it just stops.
Residents now comforting one another, some losing everything. And east of San Bernardino, the Sandalwood fire incinerating dozens of structures in hours.
Sounds like a machine gun is going off in there.
Those pops?
That's ammunition inside the house popping off.
That fire apparently caused by burning trash from this garbage truck.
The trash load was dumped off to the side of the road, ignited the vegetation.
At least one person there did not survive.
So let's get to Matt Gutman. He's live tonight, and we know the winds have been driving the fires, Matt, all day long, gusting more than 60 miles per hour at some points. And there's still red flag warnings in place as we go into the night?
Yeah, the wind has really been the story here, David. And those red flag warnings expected to persist through the night and tomorrow night. And with gusts of 30 miles an hour, you can still feel it. Those fires are going to be kept alive. Now, it was embers from across that valley you just saw that ignited this house, incinerating it in just minutes. All that's left is this chimney, and the owners told me they only had time to get out with their passports and their lives. David.
We're thinking about all those families tonight. Matt Gutman, thank you. And as Matt mentioned, those red flag warnings are being extended in California through tomorrow night now. Also tonight, we're following that blizzard warning in the middle of the country. This is Interstate 29 in Fargo, North Dakota, and we're tracking a nor'easter right off the East Coast. Meteorologist Rob Marciano tracking it all for us. Hey, Rob.
Hi, David. That cold front of that blizzard is slicing through Louisiana right now. We're getting the thunderstorms. It's in part creating those Santa Ana winds, which are going to create another rough night for firefighters tonight. Critical fire danger and extreme fire danger from inside of Ventura all the way down to San Diego, improving somewhat tomorrow, but there's going to be pockets of really bad stuff. Blizzard warning still up for parts of the upper Midwest. That low spinning into Canada, but the cold front slicing through. We're looking at freeze warnings tomorrow morning. Wind chills are going to be in the 20s from Chicago back through Oklahoma City. And there's that nor'easter, now a subtropical storm, Melissa, and will continue to slam the southeast coast of New England. More lightning here. We got to get going,
Wow,
David.
very busy night. Get back inside to safety, Rob. Thanks. We're going to turn now to the dramatic day on Capitol Hill, facing pressure from the State Department not to testify. The former ambassador to Ukraine did, in fact, show up, surrounded by cameras. And what she said today about President Trump, telling lawmakers she had been told that there was no wrongdoing on her part, but that the president wanted her out. And tonight, 24 hours after two associates of Rudy Giuliani were arrested, is Giuliani now part of the investigation? What we've learned. Here's Mary Bruce.
Up until the very moment a defiant Marie Yovanovitch walked up to the Capitol, it wasn't clear if she was coming at all. The State Department told her not to appear, but facing a subpoena, the former ambassador to Ukraine showed up anyway. Behind closed doors, Yovanovitch told lawmakers she was forced from her job under pressure from President Trump. According to her opening statement obtained by the New York Times, she was abruptly told in late April to come back to Washington on the next plane. Yovanovitch says the Deputy Secretary of State explained that the president had lost confidence in me and that there had been a concerted campaign against me, even though she was assured I had done nothing wrong. Trump has made no secret of his disdain for the former ambassador.
But I heard very, very bad things about it for a long period of time. Not good.
In the July phone call with the Ukrainian president that sparked this impeachment inquiry, Trump called Yovanovitch bad news, later saying she was going to go through some things. Today, Yovanovitch, who has served in 6 administrations, called the idea that she was disloyal to President Trump fictitious. She described herself as incredulous that she was removed from her post based on unfounded and false claims by people with clearly questionable motives. And she placed blame squarely on the president's personal attorney, Rudy Giuliani, who claimed Yovanovitch was blocking investigators from looking into Trump's political opponents, including Joe Biden.
It stems around the ambassador and the embassy being used for political purposes.
The former ambassador also points a finger at Giuliani's 2 business associates who were arrested this week trying to leave the country. This video from 2018 showing them laughing with Giuliani at the Trump Hotel.
See you in Ukraine soon.
Yovanovitch says those businessmen may well have believed that their personal financial ambitions were stymied by our anti-corruption policy in Ukraine. Today, ABC News has learned federal prosecutors are investigating the business relationship between Giuliani and those 2 men.
All right, let's get to Mary Bruce. She's live up on the Hill tonight. And Mary, the former ambassador today, while testifying, describing the State Department now as, quote, attacked and hollowed from within. And we know tonight that just a short time ago, House Democrats holding a call at the end of a very busy week about how to move forward. What are you learning tonight?
Well, David, Democratic leaders feel they are building a strong case against the president, especially now that they're able to question witnesses like Yovanovitch, who today warned that there are corrupt interests fighting against the U.S., quote, selling baseless conspiracy theories to anyone who will listen. She said, quote, sadly, someone was listening and that our nation was worse off because of it. David.
Mary Bruce, live on the Hill all day today for us. Mary, thank you. There is late word from the White House tonight. President Trump now saying he has reached phase 1 of a trade deal with China. Tonight, what the Chinese are now saying, and the president announcing this deal before leaving for a rally in Louisiana, 24 hours after launching one of his most vicious attacks yet on Joe Biden. What he said overnight. Here's ABC's chief White House correspondent, Jonathan Karl.
Sitting in the Oval Office with a high-level Chinese negotiating team, President Trump announced a truce in the trade war.
This is a great deal for China. It's a great deal for us.
It's not a done deal. It's not even in writing yet. The president called it phase 1. The Chinese vice premier called it progress towards a positive direction. But the new tariffs President Trump planned to impose next week are now on hold, and the markets sure liked it. The Dow closing up more than 300 points. There weren't many details, but the president said China had agreed to take steps to protect intellectual property and had promised to buy more than $40 billion in agricultural products.
There's a question as to whether or not our farmers can produce that much, and I think they can, but they're literally, and I said it jokingly, I think I mean it, they're going to have to buy more land.
When the president announced this meeting last week, he suggested he may ask the Chinese to investigate Joe Biden, just as he had asked Ukraine.
China should start an investigation into the Bidens, because what happened in China is just about as bad as what happened with Ukraine.
Can you assure the American people that you did not bring up Joe Biden in these negotiations, that you have not brought up that with the Chinese?
I have not brought up Joe Biden. China can do whatever they want with respect to the Bidens.
The president railed against Biden last night in deeply personal terms, calling his son Hunter a loser.
And your father was never considered smart. He was never considered a good senator. He was only a good vice president because he understood how to kiss Barack Obama's ass.
John Karl with us live at the White House tonight. John, President Trump with reporters a short time ago attacking the impeachment inquiry. And there's news tonight about the whistleblower whose complaint, of course, launched this investigation. I know Democrats want to speak with him. They have for some time. What's his team now saying, the whistleblower's team?
We are told that lawyers for the whistleblower have informed the congressional committees that their client wants to answer questions in writing and not in person. They have cited concerns for the whistleblower's safety. David.
John Karl on a very busy week. Thank you, John. Late today, the explosion near U.S. Special Forces in Syria. Turkey says the strike was in response to terrorists firing mortars near those U.S. Special Forces, saying Turkey was not targeting U.S. troops. ABC senior foreign correspondent Ian Pannell in Syria for us again tonight.
Tonight, a narrow miss for a U.S. Special Forces post in Syria as a Turkish shell lands close by. The troops uninjured, but it comes just hours after the Pentagon promised Turkey knows where all the American bases are.
The Turkish military is fully aware, down to explicit grid coordinate detail, of the locations of U.S. forces.
And Turkish shells also landing near one of the prisons holding ISIS militants, raising fears of a breakout. And further proof today of the ongoing threat from ISIS when a massive car bomb exploded in a Kurdish border town. Tonight, the U.S. threatening sanctions, calling on Turkey to halt the military operation. But tell that to the 100,000 people now on the move. Homeless, hungry, and scared. One voicing his anger at America. Trump said we're allies. No, we're not allies if they're allowing Turkey to bombard us, he says.
Turkey's now saying it was fired on from near the U.S. base and it responded, but at no point did it target U.S. forces. But this underlines the grave dangers faced by American forces and civilians across northern Syria right now. David?
Ian Pannell with us again tonight. Ian, thank you. And even as U.S. troops have been pulled back from the border area of northern Syria, President Trump tonight is sending an additional 2,800 Americans to Saudi Arabia. The Pentagon tonight deploying fighter squadrons and 2 Patriot batteries and other aircraft to bolster Saudi defenses. Now to the horrific attack in Manchester, England tonight. Shoppers running for their lives, a man randomly stabbing 3 people, injuring 2 more at a mall during a busy lunch hour. Armed officers rushing to the scene, the shopping center on lockdown, store owners closing their doors, everyone sheltering in place, police arresting the suspect on suspicion of terrorism tonight. Back here at home, and the author of the new book, Catch and Kill, Ronan Farrow, right here tonight. In the new book, the new allegation involving Matt Lauer, claims of pressure on Farrow to stop reporting on Harvey Weinstein. And tonight, Farrow, who says spies were hired to follow him during all this. Here's ABC's Lindsay Davis.
In his new book, Catch and Kill, Ronan Farrow takes aim at NBC, alleging the company was aware of claims of misconduct by Matt Lauer years before the bombshell allegation that Lauer raped a former staffer, an allegation Lauer staunchly denies. Lauer was then fired in 2017, 24 hours after the accuser went to HR. At the time, the head of NBC News said it was the first complaint about Lauer's behavior in over 20 years.
You're saying that's a lie? The evidence in this book, the documentation and paper trail of settlements, reveals that there were multiple arrangements to keep women quiet who had allegations against Matt Lauer years before this one that got him fired.
Farrow claims NBC halted his investigation into alleged abuse by Harvey Weinstein